This is Dear Strategy, episode 101. Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators. We have another great episode coming for you today. We have just passed our milestone of 100 episodes. We are so incredibly proud of being able to bring this resource to you 100 times over. Started this back in June of 2017, so about 2.5 years ago. And I have to tell you, I was not so confident that we would have this many episodes to bring you, right? I mean, when we think about I started this show because, I do strategy training, strategy consulting, and strategy is one of those subjects inside of the business world that people tend to be afraid to admit when they don't know something, right? It's almost like they feel like if they're in any type of a strategic position, they should know everything there is to know academically about strategy and strategy frameworks and the history of strategy and all those different things. And as it turns out, a lot of people don't know that stuff. They either didn't take the classes or haven't been exposed to it, or they took the classes, but they took it way back before they could apply it. And so they come into the business world and they really don't know what all of this stuff means, right? But they won't ask because they feel like it's a failure, or they feel like their managers will think less of them. And so I wanted to give people a resource they can come to and ask questions that they may not feel comfortable asking inside their own companies, and get the answers and get those answers for free. And so that's why we started the show. But I have to admit, I thought maybe we'd have, 50, maybe 60 episodes before we started running out of unique questions. And I've even surprised myself that, we've been able to get 100 unique questions, really very, very few repeats. I mean, obviously some themes have been repeated, but very few repetitive questions. And we actually still have a backlog of questions still to go. So this has been really, really great and really, really eye-opening. There's a lot of questions about this subject out there, more than I even anticipated. So I foresee that we'll be able to do this for a long time to go. But we do think that after 100 episodes, it's probably time to change things up a little bit, time to revisit our strategy, so to speak. And so that's what this episode's going to be all about. We reached the 100 episode milestone just about the end of November 2019. For those of you who might be listening in the future, it is now December of 2019, and we're taking the month off a little bit, not doing our regular cadence of a show every other week and a blog post every other week. We're just going to do one show and one blog post this month, and this is it. And what we're going to be doing is answering a question here that we're kind of proposing hypothetical, which is, Dear Strategy, what's your strategy for the next 100 episodes, or beyond episode 100, I think is the way I'd officially like to ask it. So that's what we're going to be answering here today. What are we going to be doing after, this first 100 episodes? And so here's the answer. First of all, we're going to be changing things up a little bit, right? Not too much, not crazy, but we are going to be changing things up a little bit. You already heard a brand new soundtrack. So I composed a new soundtrack. Those of you who know me personally know that I am also a musician and composer, in addition to being a strategy facilitator and consultant. That's my love and my hobby. I did compose the original soundtrack for Dear Strategy, which is that kind of piano and violin, thing. And so I decided that for the next 100 episodes and beyond, wanted to change that up a little bit, give you a little more excitement, a little modern version on the same Dear Strategy theme. So you got that in the beginning and you'll hear it again at the end. So there you go there. But really what that is a symbol, right, of the fact that we're doing something different, something new. And here's what the new is going to look like. We do still want to answer questions on the subject of product and business strategy and have the same format that we've had, where users will submit their questions and we'll answer them here on the show. We also, of course, answer them in a blog post that accompanies each episode. And those are all free and available at dearstrategy.net. So if you haven't checked out the blog, please do that. In fact, I also want to announce that we were nominated for one of our articles, in fact, was nominated for a Product Management Today MVP award in the market strategy category. There are, I think, about 8 other nominees, I guess, in that category, and people are asked to vote and choose the one that they like the best. And we won. We won. So very, very proud of that. That was announced actually at the beginning of this month, and really, really super proud. It was episode 92 that actually got nominated, the blog post for that. So all that to say that the blog post is a tremendous resource. It's completely free. We're probably going to be compiling those all into a book at some point, just so people can have even easier access to it, or a different type of access with a different medium. But still, we want to continue all of that, right? And so we definitely have a backlog of questions. We think that there's still unique questions to be asked, and we want to keep that going. So we are going to keep that going with one minor update that I hope will happen, and something that we envisioned actually since the beginning of the show. We always wanted questions that were based on terminology and tools and kind of, what does this mean and what does that mean? And those are pretty much most of the questions that we're getting. But we also were hoping along the way that we'd get questions about, I have this strategy and what do I do with this, right? Or what do I do here? What do I do in this situation? So more situational type things, more specific to, answering questions about what types of strategies you might want to take, or what types of moves you want to take in specific situations. We haven't gotten many questions like that, and we hope to get more of those. So we're starting to compile some of those, both from our own experiences in our workshops and things like that. And also we hope that we'll get more user submitted questions around that type of an approach. So that's kind of the Q&A piece. We're going to continue on the way we have, but hopefully interjecting more situational questions as well. But believe it or not, that's not the big news. Because the question part is going to be one of the types of episodes that we feature, but we're going to actually mix in another type of episode. And that's going to be around what we're going to call strategy stories. So we're going to have episodes on strategy questions, like we kind of always had. And then we're going to have episodes on strategy stories. And here's the idea behind that. What we're going to do with strategy stories is we're going to feature real life situations that have happened between customers and companies. So we all have customer service experiences. We all have experiences with companies, some good, most probably not so good, or at least the ones we remember are the ones that are not so good. And a lot of times when we have these experiences, we kind of look at them and say, what was the strategy behind the company doing this? Like, why did they do this? Again, either good or bad. So what we thought would be fun is if we featured these real life experiences that people are having with companies and try and break them down, try and analyze what's going on there. What was the strategy behind that? Was it a strategy that they meant to do, or was it against the strategy that they say that they're trying to go and implement? And how is it working? How do we expect it to work? And what we hope from that is this kind of situational case study type approach will help us to not only analyze a situation, but break down what's going well, what's not going so well, so that people can learn from that and take that back to their jobs and use it, right? And so that's really what we're hoping we can get from that. So again, 2 different types of formats: strategy questions, which will be the traditional terminology tools questions, and also some situational questions in there as well. And then strategy stories, where people will tell us about their stories, their interactions with companies, and we'll break those down from a strategic standpoint and try and figure out what's the strategy. What was it good? Was it bad? And what could we learn from that? Now, I'll tell you that we're going to be getting both of these things from a combination of people who are, submitting questions and stories as they always have, and also our own experiences. We'll mix that up a bit. And again, our goal here has always been to educate and advise and guide. We're not here to try and rip on, specific companies or single people out or things of that nature. So we're not going to name companies. We're not going to be talking about, this company did that or whatever. We're not turning this into a gripe session as much as we want to really learn from the experiences that we have. So we'll probably hide the identities. We'll talk about things in more generic ways, but they will be real stories, real situations, at least as much as we can verify, with the purpose of analyzing what's going on and trying to relay that back. So that's the idea behind the new format. We're going to keep up with the every other week, right? So we've been going kind of every other Monday, we release an episode, and then we release a blog post that goes along with that within a week of the episode being released. So we'll continue that cadence. I think that seems to be working pretty well. But we're going to mix up these episode formats. Maybe every other one we'll do a question, then a story, then a question, then a story, or maybe we'll mix it up more. Maybe we'll do 2 questions in a row, 2 stories in a row. I don't know. We'll keep it kind of fresh and interesting and see how that all works. But the idea is to move beyond just kind of the standard tools and terminology questions and move more into this situational approach, which is really, quite frankly, what we've always envisioned for the show. So that's the big announcement, and that's going to be coming at you beginning January 6th. So the first Monday in January, we'll be bringing you the first episode. We'll start off with a strategy story so you can get used to that. And of course, if you have questions or stories or situations that you want to submit to be analyzed or answered on the show, go ahead to our website and click on the contact link. We've changed that link from ask a question to contact so that we could accommodate this new format. But go ahead and click on that contact link. That's on the upper right-hand corner of the website. That'll take you to a contact page, and you could ask a question, submit a story to be analyzed, or just give us some feedback on what you think we should be doing in the future and how you're liking the show. So while you're doing all that, as always, don't forget to make time for the plan. And we will definitely see you back here in the new year on another episode of Dear Strategy. And before we go, we'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy, healthy, safe holiday season. Get all refreshed because we have a lot to do in the new year. We'll see you back here in January. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caparelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.